What the hell is this thing?
Heather ain't got no time for that shit. We'll watch that fucker drop. Pop, pop, pop. Alright, so one detail that's really cool is that she unloads into it and the magazine is empty. That's a cool detail. I really like that, actually. But we're gonna equip the knife for now, just to save some ammo for future. Silent Hill 3 is probably the most inspirational video game. Is one of the most inspirational video games for indie horror RPGs like the Strange Man anthology. Besides Silent Hill 2, you notice a lot of them are inspired by the early Silent Hills. Silent Hill 2 is definitely the most inspirational horror game of its time. Like the horror game that's been directly the inspiration of the most. But I do think people underrate the influence 3 had, specifically in terms of art direction. A lot of it in like art direction, environment design, and creature design. Like the weird shaking head Jacob's Ladder flesh monsters. Like you see that in a lot of games, even today. Very interesting. Whoa, its face is a spinning circle.
It is.
It's so good how the game always has a creepy feel to it, but the background music earlier helped things keep things a little light. You ran into them all, dead silence. It's so fucking good. Like this game is such a master of audio design. The handgun is weak in this game compared to the previous games. Yeah, but honestly, we'll talk about more of the gameplay side going forward, but I actually do appreciate, I think in terms of raw gameplay, Silent Hill 3 is the best game of the trilogy. Bar fucking none. It really refined a lot of the survival horror mechanics of Silent Hill to a mere sheen. I also like the hesitation Heather has here. I think that for the story and her character, and it's a good choice to make this a cutscene rather than player control compared to Silent Hill 2, for example. Completely agree. I appreciate that she hesitates, but she still does it. I like it. I don't know. Like, I do love just these little bits of characterization we get for Heather. It's really nice. But let's talk about this. So, as I said earlier, due to the pacing of Silent Hill 3's plot, a lot of the symbolism can't be discussed. Let's get out of the menu to make something a little more interesting. Due to the pacing of the game's plot, like a lot of the symbolism can't be discussed yet until about the second half of the game. So, this enemy here, though, this is called the Closer. So, from the Book of Lost Memories, it describes the monster thus. Named Closer because of its huge body. It also has the appearance of a mandarin from the previous work that has risen above ground. The mandarin, if you remember, is an enemy that is very infrequently seen in Silent Hill 2 that hangs at the bottom of grates. They basically kind of admitting to reusing the design because I don't think anyone really remembers the mandarin outside of nerds like me. So, yeah. There is a reason for the Closer to look and act the way it does. Unfortunately, we really cannot talk about any of the enemy symbolism for a while. Like I said, this is, it's good for the game. It's not a problem with the game. It's a huge pain in the ass for the way I do these things. Let's examine it. It's definitely not human. I've never heard of such an animal. And no way it's a costume. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy when you say it, but monster is the only word for it. But I don't think I'm crazy. It's a monster. I killed it. Of course, it gives you some bullets so you can actually replenish. I hate that Closer is just a reused Mandarin. Even when I was younger and we played Silent Hill 2 or 3 so much, I was like, what does it mean? I do think there is a better meaning for it here, and there is a meaning for it. But they are kind of admitting that, yeah, like, we reused it because... And we're going to talk about more reuse later because, especially in Day 2, it's going to become apparent Silent Hill 3 is the victim of a rushed development cycle. And we'll touch on that when we get there. I can tell from here that it's dead. Should I call the police? Not like they'd believe me if I said someone's been killed by a monster. I can tell from here. Oh, okay, it's the same. I will say one thing. Silent Hill, what I do like about this cutscene as well, this cutscene establishes that Silent Hill 3 is going to be a much more visceral experience than 1 or 2 was. Like, those games were much more quiet in its horror. This game is, like, loud, gross, and in your face. And there's one scene in particular, I think that's coming up shortly, that really hammers in. This game's a lot more loud with its horror. And I do think as a contrasting game, it works to, like, set itself apart from 2, which is, like, this very morose, quiet experience. I like it. Oh, before I forget, little fun fact about talking about reused assets. This corpse model here is actually the character model of Angela from Silent Hill 2. That's Angela's character model. So Angela's fucking dead, I guess. Well, we kind of figured, but, you know, that sucks for her. Now, this probably means nothing, and I'm going to pull this out of my ass, but when you get the implicit threat from Douglas following Heather to the bathroom and cornering her, to Angela and all of her character symbolism from 2, her model being reused to be eaten by this thing, I think it's fair to say that there's some violence against women imagery really being hammered into you. You know, could be nothing, but there's more of that going forward. So we'll touch on that when we get there. There we go. I like the part where Heather puked up. Oh, can't say it. Oh, I can't say it. But I agree. We'll touch on what I think of that when we get there. I have a lot to say on that. Speaking of the things I have a lot to say on, it'd be too hard to get through here with all the boxes and pallets. So this is a little thing, but we're going to be seeing more of these little things going forward. Something about Heather as a character I find interesting is I actually think that... How do I put this? One of her character traits from this to not wanting to sidle around the van and the alley, to stuff we're going to see going forward, one of Heather's character traits, outside of poor memory, is that she's lazy. She tries to take the path of least resistance on things. And we're going to see that more going forward, and it kind of informs one of my takes on the ending, especially. But we'll get to that. Let's go. It has almost been an hour and I haven't even beat... my bad, dude, I apologize. No need to apologize. I said at the start, chat can say whatever it wants in spoilers. I'm just not going to repeat it because, you know. So this is called the Numb Body. This enemy. So we will talk more about the Numb Body in a second. I just want to, like, let the audience get a good look at this thing. Just get a good old look at this boy. Yeah, so that's the Numb Body. Let's go. Alright, let's go this way. We got a save point coming up, and I should save my games, just in case things crash. Funny considering that in video game land, sure it's impassable, but in reality those boxes and pallets would not be a big deal to move. It's most definitely a way to, like, lock things off to the player. Like, obviously it's, like, there for design, but I do think it is interesting for a character for also small bits, and also some major bits going forward. Let's save the game. It's like a magic circle I remember reading about in a book on black magic. Does it seem so familiar because I read about it in that book? No, that's not it. It's not the book. It's from the altar. Altar? What am I thinking? Okay, so let's get some good music on for the save, and let's talk about the Numb Bodies. So those little creatures that we saw and got a highlight of are called the Numb Body. And the Book of Lost Memory says this about them. It is given the name Numbody due to its slow and clumsy movements, and the fact that its body appears pale as if it is frozen. Now, we'll discuss what the Numbody means later, but when we do get to it, and when we do get more of what the enemy symbolism in this game is alluding to, the Numbody is, how do I put this? It's as subtle as a brick to the face. It's one thing Silent Hill 3 does a little worse, definitely does worse than 2, is that its enemy symbolism is, like, very on the nose and, like, not subtle at all. And that, to me, makes it all the more insane that Masahiro Ito, the lead artist of Silent Hill 2, he said that the Numbody means nothing. There's no symbolism to the Numbody, it's just a monster. Once the plot becomes more apparent, you're going to see that the symbolism of the Numbody is as subtle as a sledgehammer. And we'll get to kind of like what I think about Masahiro Ito later, but I do think, as much as I respect the man and think that he is absolutely the word of God of Silent Hill 2's art direction, he's kind of a petty bitch when it comes to the series going forward, and the fact that everyone, they take his Twitter rants and shitposts as a word of God fact of the entire franchise is infuriating. Especially when we get into the fact that he didn't even design half of the monsters in this game, but he's including the Numbody. But I digress. That's just a little fanboy thing of mine that I am going to die alone on. I don't know why I remember the later parts of Silent Hill 3 and the quotes from Heather, like the final boss and her confronting Claudia again. I think a lot of this game's best stuff is in the last half of the game, specifically like the last third of the game, is like the strongest moments of Silent Hill 3. At least in my opinion. So, that altar save point though. A little weird, isn't it? Okay. But yeah, that's it. I'm mostly positive that Ito's messing people at this point. He has to be. Like, I will say, when Ito is talking specifically about things he designed, he's absolutely the word of God. I'm really tired of people taking his word over the word of, like, the writer and director of Silent Hill 3 over what Silent Hill 3 means. I'm just saying, like, it's fucking infuriating. Something's falling between the table and the floor. I think it might be a key. If my arms were a little longer, I might be able to reach it. There's a huge pile of cardboard boxes on the table, full of books. It's way too much of a pain to move something that heavy. Once again, path of least resistance. Heather's like, it's too much. I agree, dude. Yeah, it's like, obviously, like, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Masahiro Ito. Like, I love the man's work. It's just, if he's not messing with people, I think he's gotten way too bitter for his own good. Too many people blindly follow and believe creators. It's like, I don't even put it, like, necessarily in quotations. Like, he's a very important part to Silent Hill's success. It's just, like, he's not the end-all to be-all when Silent Hill, even the first Silent Hill, that's a collaborative project of about 24 people. And considering that, and obviously people are going to say, oh, well, but it must be just the writer and director and everyone in that area. All those lowly programmers and designers, they don't mean anything. They don't come up with ideas. I have two different arguments against that. First of all, the director of Silent Hill 3 was a model rigger on Silent Hill 2. Just think about that for a second. In a 2-year turnaround, he went from a model rigger to leading a project. The flagship project of the team. No, lowly rigger, lowly programmer. And second, in the making of Silent Hill 3, they actually do describe how, because Team Silent had a large female staff population, a lot of the women designers on the team, specifically in like the programming and design areas, actually had a lot to say about how they would portray Heather, how they portrayed Claudia, and how they would design their characters and certain scenes. Even though they weren't the writers, even though they weren't the directors. what I'm getting at is that Silent Hill has always been a very collaborative project, and I really feel like that's why you can never do a whole get the band back together Team Silent revival. Like, there's just, in a rotating team of like over 100 people, I think it's like 104 in total worked at Team Silent through the series production. Like, you just, when you have people in quote-unquote lowly positions impacting that much, you can't tell me that it wasn't a whole all-hands-on-deck experience for these games that made them. I digress. Auteur effect has ruined a lot of game development, I feel. It's bread. But I'm not really hungry, so I guess I don't need to worry about it. There's a flyer. Crispy toasted bread right to your very door. Everything's on sale. Helen's Bakery. No prices. Okay. Where's... There we go. You got a pair of tongs. Whee! Alright. I gotta say, I'm really appreciating that, we had a scare today with my internet, but everything's holding up pretty well. I could knock on wood, but I am tempting fate today. Alright. God, those stump sound effects are so good.
Yeah, my tiny baby arms can't reach it.
You got key taken with tongs. My bestsellers. It's a bookstore. Let's go. Ah! As you can see, the numb bodies are not exactly threatening. Team Silent certainly does feel special in that regard. Supposedly, Team Silent was formed by rejected Konami employees that were outcast from other projects. That is the case. Like, it really was just kind of, Resident Evil made money, we want to make a Resident Evil clone, get a bunch of, like, the wee fuckers from failed projects to work on it, you know? That's kind of like the origin of Silent Hill 1, of that game's legendary development. Speaking of legendary... Missing books. What do I have in my books? Shakespeare Anthology 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh boy. Okay, so... I love these little fellas. Hell yeah. So let's talk about the Shakespeare puzzle. So, Silent Hill 3's hard puzzle difficulty is kind of infamous for how obtuse the puzzles got. And this is probably the most famous example. And this one is easy. We're just gonna, like, examine... Oh, there's numbers on the spines. Whoa. So, let's just do it on easy. Whoa, numbers on spine. Oh my god. Does it line up? Nope. Does this line up? Nope. Does this line up? Yes. Nope. Let's see. That can't be right. So that's gotta be the first one. I will simply play the puzzle on baby mode. 5 in 1 swap. Yeah, 1 minute here. I was trying to like get the description of the Shakespeare puzzle. Okay. Good to see you're still working. I wouldn't say still working. This is mostly just like, how do I put this? There we go. Nope. I meant to do this and this. There we go. 3052. Okay. So let's talk about the Shakespeare puzzle on hard. So what you need is to understand the individual books, which play they are. So Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, I think King Lear is one of them, Henry V, things like that. So you need to have a working knowledge of the Shakespeare plays to read a poem on the door, 3052. Let's try not to forget. To read a poem right here. So the poem is on easy, is real easy. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Put these books in order. Put these books out of order. Easy. 3052 mind. Okay, so this is like relatively simple. This is nothing. On hard mode, you need to have a working knowledge of all the anthology Shakespeare collections to get a poem that describes different scenes of the different Shakespeare plays that account to numbers. That account to, I think, an 8-digit number sequence. So of that 8-digit number sequence, you need to decipher how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide each of the numbers based on if someone is killed or added to a scene in the description in the poem. And when you add or subtract those numbers together of that 8-number sequence, you get the 4-number sequence that is the password. Confused yet? Never play this game on hard. So before the next scene, let's flip our page here. Also, welcome, Wes. We are making... Let's watch a cutscene. Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot.
Hey, wait, what's going on? Where is everybody? Those weird monsters?
They have come to witness the beginning. The rebirth of paradise, despoiled by mankind.
What are you talking about?
Don't you know? Your power is needed.
How should I know?
I am Claudia.
So what?
Remember me, and your true self as well. Also, that which you must become. The one who will lead us to paradise with blood-stained hands.
Claudia, right? Did you do all this?
It was the hand of God.
I don't get it. What does she want me to remember?
Damn, Heather is literally me when someone mentions Dead Rising around me. Joke's on you, fucker. This is the mall level. Enjoy. Zoomer when no Subway Surfers and they have to talk to somebody. Yeah, Silent Hill 3's hard puzzles are pretty tough. And, like, they're all... In Silent 2, they're pretty tough as well. But that Shakespeare puzzle is genuinely baffling. Whoever thought of that as an actual sociopath? So, let's talk about that scene quickly. I want to just put another little bookmark that we can't discuss yet. Seen an annoying trend yet? I am. The fact that this is the first time that Heather has these full body convulsions and pains when she's meeting Claudia for the first time. I think that's very interesting. We're going to get to that going forward, but that's a fascinating decision in the game. So, this is, in my opinion, where Silent Hill's use of uncanny voice acting went from happy accident in the first two games to 100% intentional in 3. Heather and Douglas talk like people. Claudia talks like an absolute freak. She's intentionally presented this way. And I feel like this is the moment that it really became strong. And what the scene does, though, from, like, this whole, like, hallway, facing each other at opposite ends and such, the way that Heather is dressed, like, in, like, much more, like, open and casual compared to, like, the fully professional, covered-up Claudia, looking like she's, like, essentially, like, a Mennonite Hellraiser reject. I think it really does set up these two characters as foils very well, immediately. So Heather's modern, Claudia's old-fashioned. Heather's speaking casually, emotionally, off the cuff from the heart. Claudia is formal and just maintains this deadpan, uptight attitude the entire time. Heather has absolutely no answers in the situation, and Claudia, at least, seems like she has all of them. Claudia is the literal... Oh, okay. I will not say more of the Claudia analysis, because we'll get to more Claudia as we go. I think she's a very... I think Claudia is actually a very underrated character. A very underrated villain. But we'll talk about more of Claudia, unfortunately, probably in day 2. Oh, this is making me suffer. But this is also the moment where Heather's poor memory goes from a little character detail in the phone call and the first save point to an explicit plot point. So we'll get to that. Now unfortunately, I don't think the textures are going to be clear enough on the stream compression, but you can read the signs. And the signs actually have some interesting things. So you got Boutique A, quote unquote. Lumber room. Like, very weird descriptions. Some of these are intentional, though, so we'll get to it. Like, cafe terminal, I think. Whatever. But we'll get to the first one that is interesting is here. What? Listen to that fucking chanting. God, this game's music's so cool. So what this one says, it's very hard to see, but this one says Yggdrasil. So what we went over in Silent Hill 2 especially is that a lot of the sort of like spiritual and religious imagery in Silent Hill is a mishmash grab. And we'll talk about more about why I personally think that is when we do a little recap over why things are the way they are in Silent Hill, as I'll like re-explain over my big dumb unifying theory from Silent Hill 2. But specifically for the Yggdrasil example, for those not aware, Yggdrasil is the Norse world tree connecting each of the different realms. This can apply to Silent Hill pretty explicitly with how there are different realms laid on top of each other. Spoilers 1 and 2, and for more of this going forward, where you have the real world, which is like analogous to our real waking life, that that the cast live within. You have the fog world, where it becomes the foggy, overcast town, alone with maybe a couple other people and a shitload of monsters. And then the other world, which is just the hell dimension, where everything goes to shit. So the connection to Yggdrasil of the world tree, pretty obvious for Silent Hill. Less obvious is this one, the Nornen. So the Nornen, or the Norns, are also part of Norse mythology here. I apologize, Dune. I think Claudia is an interesting character too. I was just saying she's a good antagonist to hate too. Oh no, like Claudia is like a very hateable character, but we'll talk more about what I gotta say about Claudia as we go. And day 3 especially, we'll do like the full Claudia deep dive. But, so for the Nornen, or the Norns, they're 3 deities who sit at the foot of Yggdrasil, who spin the threads of fate and destiny. Specifically, I want to point out again, there's 3 of them. There's 3 of the Nornen, and each of them represent past, present, and future. 3 things representing past, present, and future. We'll talk about that on day 3. As well, remember, Teacup Ride opening, save point, circles of 3 combined. Once again, we're getting that. And also, I apologize, but you're going to be hearing way more of that. We'll explain that on day 2 or 3. Let's continue. Oh, emulator, don't fail me now. There are no buttons for the elevator. There's no way to open this door. Such a good sequence. A radio? What the hell is this doing falling down from the ceiling? Anyway, I guess that explains the static from just before. But all it's picking up is static. I wonder if it's broken. So before I forget, let's turn the radio off. I know the radio is a bit of iconography for the franchise. I think for our sake, it's just going to be easier as a listening experience to turn the thing off. Obviously, it doesn't make a difference here because this is mostly a cutscene, but I digress. Going forward, I think it's just going to be better for a listening experience to have it off. There we go.
Is this a dream? It's gotta be. Not even a kid could believe in this. When am I going to wake up?
More of that rotating fan imagery. Cyclic. But also, if you remember, rotating fans were a very common image in Silent Hill 1, and we're seeing a return of that. But I think one of the things that is like most explicit from that sequence, and to a lesser degree the closer introduction, is the fact that Silent Hill 3, as we went over, is a much more in-your-face, visceral experience than 2 especially, well, 2 especially, but also 1. So, let's talk about the 3 different Silent Hill games and their approach to horror. So, with Silent Hill 1, it really leaned into that occult and demonic style of horror. But more explicitly, I think it leans into that surrealist. Silent Hill 1, more than any other game in the series, really is kind of like a nightmare simulator. Things just sort of happen, you go in and out of consciousness, things change around you. It very much, more than any other game in the series, it really operates on that dream logic. Silent Hill 2 obviously is pure psychological horror, and is really the reason why we're still getting, like, kind of shitty rip-offs of it 20 years later. Actually, fuck, like, probably, like, yeah, 23 years later, shit. Speaking of Heather having more of her personality, her description of the ampoule healing item is great. This is the stuff. Yeah, let's look at it. This is the stuff. It'll wipe out all the pain and help me recover my strength. It's full of nutrition and should help me recover at least a little bit of my strength. I love the set design of this game. Like you entering doorways and passages sends chills down my spine. Yeah, it's just creepy as hell. This game's awesome. But what is the defining horror of Silent Hill 3? Well, this is when Team Silent decided to tackle body horror. So what is body horror? Well, I mean, basically, if you want shorthand, body horror is David Cronenberg and the Fly remake. The works of David Cronenberg as a whole, but the Fly remake is like the big famous one. But for a more complete definition, if you will allow me to go full egghead here for a moment, body horror revels in grandiosity, a celebration of flesh as it finds strength in the way it goes against what is considered normal anatomy and function in biological species, not limited to human. This is from Mutations and Metamorphoses, Body Horror is Biological Horror. Good article, actually. It sounds gross, but it's actually a pretty enjoyable read. Despite all three focusing on different aspects of horror, the one connecting thread of Silent Hill is how the horror or the phenomenon encountered by the player character reflects them, or at least a character in the story. Of course, Heather would love an ampoule, Dave. She's been addicted. She's been addicted to meth for years. Listen, okay? She put that past behind her. Past is the past. She's only addicted to American Spirits and Marlboro Reds now. And Pall Malls. So, let's talk about what I call the dream of Silent Hill. So, the big question always is if anything is real in these games, or if it's all in the protagonist's head. The answer is kind of both. At least in my opinion. Once again, gonna put up here, pure speculation. This is all me pulling stuff from my ass. But Silent Hill is, quote-unquote, a dream in the sense that the town of Silent Hill itself, or the entities residing there, however you want to phrase it, is using people's psyches against them, filtering their hang-ups, traumas, and personal bullshit, all through its own nightmare logic and design ones, to create their own personalized nightmare. Essentially, there is a spiritual presence in Silent Hill, but it changes the way it's perceived and depicted depending on who it's feeding off of at the time. A person needs to be essentially the host of the nightmare, so to speak, to complete the circuit. And as we went over, there's the whole multiple realities layered on top of each other. You got the real world, which they can't really interact with the town of Silent Hill or the entities of Silent Hill, however you want to put it. The fog world, where they can, and then finally where we're at right now, the Otherworld, which is unique to the psyche of whoever the town is leeching off of. For this term, we'll call the person that the town is leeching off of for its nightmare, for its monster and nightmare world imagery, we'll call them the Dreamer. So, the question though is why? Why the fuck would the town do this? What's its actual, you can't just say, oh, it's evil, it does it, or, mystery, because, that's lame. I think there's actually a very simple explanation for it, and it ties back to one of Silent Hill's #1 inspirations, David Lynch, and specifically the show Twin Peaks. Why does the town do this? Why is it feeding, or, leeching off of people's nightmares and trauma and bullshit? Food. The town just feeds off a negative emotion and shit, and triggers it by symbolically representing what would bring the host of the nightmare the most inner turmoil. Essentially just milking them for what they're worth. In the show Twin Peaks, light spoilers for it, there's sort of a similar thing going on with the Fog World, Otherworld things, with the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. Or just the Lodge, where sort of these entities reside that take different forms depending on who's perceiving them at the time, or possessing people to interact with the real world, quote unquote. So the motivation of the Lodge is to feed off of what the show calls Garmonbosia, which is inner turmoil, pain, and suffering. If you go back to a lot of classical occult thought that David Lynch, when he was really high back in the 90s, was really into, that's really what they're taking the concept from, because that's a very common, occult, paranormal idea. You see that today with, the Newkirks, if you want to get real ghost fuckers with it. But that's sort of the general gist of what Silent Hill is. Why is it doing it? Why is it presenting these things? It just fucking eats it. It's its own organism and communicates in its own way. You could also say the same thing for another unintentional influence, the Soviet film Solaris. But we did that in Silent Hill too, so no point going back to that. Let me flip my notebook over, because we're gonna read more. Oh boy. So, kind of my evidence for this, the idea of it being kind of a living nightmare that is both real and its own world kind of thing, comes from the official Silent Hill 1 strategy guide. So I think I've read this in like all 3 of the streams, so let's go forward. For the sake of convenience, this will be referred to as the right side and the reverse side in this book. In the same way that a person normally repeats REM, that's rapid eye movement sleep, and non-REM sleep in regular cycles while he or she is sleeping, when the nightmare world approaches a deeper darkness, sleep, a phenomenon occurs in which light is almost completely taken away and the world shifts into an even deeper nightmare as the cycle shifts again. First of all, I just want to say, another mention of the word cycle. Interesting. As for the right side and the reverse side, in short, it isn't that one is reality and one is a dream. The fact is that neither is reality. That is from the Silent Hill Shiki guidebook Kazeban. So we can analyze a lot of the imagery of this game with some basic dream analysis, which is like an outdated, probably bullshit field of pseudoscience, but it's fun, so we're gonna do it. So there's 3 steps that we're going to be adhering to when trying to interpret the symbolism of Silent Hill 3, as we've done for 1 and 2. Number 1, individuals ruminate on and process things from daily life in dreams. Number 2, the language of dreams is symbols. Essentially, what holds relevancy to the dreamer and what is symbolically reflective of their day-to-day life. Number 3, we're going to treat the dream as if it's factual and logical, even though it really makes no goddamn sense. So, let's move on. The bed is stained dark red. Whose blood is this? Is there someone here apart from that woman? So, will it tell us where we are? No labels. But we can probably assume from like all the drugs and stuff we got from here, this was the nursing station. And what we're seeing is a bed with a lot of spilled blood going to the foot of it. We'll talk more about this imagery later, but it's going to be recurring. Let's save the game. This again. Looking at it makes my head hurt, but at the same time, it's like so familiar. I know I've forgotten something really important, but I also have the feeling that I'd be better off not remembering it. For the record, I warned you all, this was going to be me at my most insufferable. This is going to be true peak autism. Moving forward. Hey, it's a dog. Obviously, we're in the dream world at the moment. Yeah, like, look at this shit. I love the Silent Hill 3 trilogy style of commentary on religious cults and the occult. I think it's done really well. I agree. We'll talk especially more about like some of the religious stuff going forward. Oh, this sequence is great. This is like, okay, you want to talk about good lighting in this game? This is so good. Warning, when leaving the room, be sure to turn out the lights. It'll be obvious when they're not switched off. There's a light switch. It's on right now. They turn it off the light. What? This is a really good puzzle. That's such a good... Oh, it's so good. Oh, this game is so good. Alright, let's go. Let's go to the little girl's room. We need to grab this. Bleach. Underrated Nirvana album. Is it better than Nevermind? I don't know. Oh, someone's still in there? Oh, occupied. I don't know. It's soaking with blood. But there's no one here. Did someone respond, or is it just me? Well, so this is the women's washroom, and, let's just say someone did not have a very good day here. It's full of filthy, muddy water. It looks like something's stopping it. Will you move the blockage? There's no bleach on easy. There's no bleach on easy, but also I think it's like, it removes one of my favorite dumb cutscenes in the game, so fuck that. We're playing on normal. We need it. Yeah, someone had a bad time.
Ugh, forget it. This is way too gross. Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
Who on earth? That's for anyone who does not remember. If you have a Silent Hill 2 save file on your memory card, then you get this scene of Heather saying how disgusting it is to reach your hand in a toilet, which is a reference to James going whole fucking hog, not even rolling the sleeve of his coat up, sticking his hand into a big ol' shit toilet. Just... this game is these games are a treat, man. So I will say one thing I do appreciate, that outside of, like, obviously, like, token bits like the pizza scene from and the dog ending of 2, like, Silent Hill 3 is definitely the one that has the most sense of humor about itself. Yeah, somebody had a bad time in there. They pizzaed when they should have french fried. Peak autism, having some peak autism here, too. I'm just saying, like, I am, like, alright, let's try on. Can we go in here? I forget. Okay, no, it's another area we can go into the men's washroom. But, I'm just saying, whoop. Ha, juke and jive. I love how judgmental Heather is in this scene. Like, everything about the characterization of Heather is fantastic. We got a coat hanger. Once we get to discussing the plot of the game, this is as subtle as a rock to the balls. Got bulletproof vest. So the bulletproof vest reduces damage, but we're honestly not going to use that. It slows down your running too much. And really, mobility is the most important thing when it comes to avoiding damage in this game, I feel. I love this part. The toilet bit is so good. Onward! Jesus, I forget how huge the closer is. Yeah, Heather's face is hilarious in that scene. It's so good. Do. What's this? Well, do have something. Aw, man. I'm just realizing, like, we're an hour and a half in, we haven't even beaten them all, and we're on page 6 of, I think, 43 pages for my stream outline. Oh, boy. I recently played Silent Hill 3 a month or two ago, and yeah, I was surprised how much the vest slows you down running. You're better without it. The defense boost is good, but specifically for the tougher boss fights, like the final boss, it's just not worth it. Because, like, the issue with the final boss has nothing to do with damage as much as it does with mobility. And just not being fast enough to dodge certain attacks is, like, it's a problem. That part's the reason why I love Silent Hill 3. Yeah, it's like, that's part of the reason is that this game has, it still does tackle heavy subject matter, but its sense of humor is really strong. Why would something like this be here? This isn't a hospital. The sense of humor in Silent Hill 3 is, like, really strong. Ugh, girl saying daddy. Take it from me, avoid one of those. Anyway, let's save our game in the TV set. But, that is interesting. Static on the TV screen appears to be someone in distress, and you hear what it sounds like a child's voice saying, Daddy. Huh. Interesting. Whoop. I got a walnut. This is a good-sized walnut from the jeweler showcase. Something's rattling around inside, but I can't open it with my bare hands.
My weak baby hands cannot open the walnut. Oh no.
There was a nice silver ring in here the last time I came. Bummer it's gone, huh? Little shit like that is why Heather's such a great character. Like, even in this situation, she's like, man, kinda sucks I can't shoplift. What a great fucking protagonist. Oh, wait, no, I forgot. This is not where we want to go. Uh-oh. There goes the Cheerios. Alright, let's get ourselves back on track. So we're gonna have to waste some bullets. So let's get our gun out. There's a section I'm gonna want to have enemy-free coming up very soon. Whoop. Oh, running away, running away. Woman grip.
My tiny baby arms cannot open the walnut. Oh no.
I can't wait to open and eat the walnut. I'm hungry. Oh, that's an even grosser. That's also a gross toilet. Ew. God, it feels like every surface in this game, like I've played this game like 6 times in preparation for the stream, start to finish, but I'm like, I shouldn't be impressed by it still. But goddamn, every surface in this looks like you get tetanus if you fucking touched it. It's awesome. Alright, where is it? Did I do it right? Oh? It's a gross toilet. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not what I wanted. Alright, where's that dog? There it is! ATF, open up! Oh, Wes, you are trying to give me an aneurysm. I love how they stole that design for the Siams in Homecoming. Oh, it's, I will say one thing about the Siams, that if that was, like, a Hellraiser game or The Suffering, that's actually a pretty good design. Alright, so we're gonna want to save ammo now, because this thing takes a lot to put down. This thing, slow as shit. Welcome to London, bitch. I'm at work for 2 more hours, just saying happy streams to you. Thanks for popping in, Default. Honestly, you know what? I was nervous, but it's good to be back, man. I think the Siams and the Hammerhead monsters could have been cool in a different game. I agree. Oh, right in the dick. Well, I guess got in the cooch, because this thing's like wearing a dress, but, you know, whatever. Eat it. Eat it. I will say, if we're talking, like, just Homecoming designs, in my opinion, the strongest designs for Homecoming are the bosses. All of the boss designs are, like, really cool, actually. We're so back. We're so back, bros! This is it! This is the comeback! I would ask a question about the game, Doomed, but I'm worried it will get into spoiler territory. I remember seeing a video from Mega Bear's fan about Silent Hill 3's early development and what it almost became. It was about themes in the game's set design. I'm saying, ask ahead, and if it is spoilers, then, like, I'll screen cap it, and we can talk about it when it's, like, not spoilers. But if it's for, like, an unfinished Silent Hill 3 build, and if it's about what I think it is, then I don't think it's spoilers. Little Joey Bartlett and the Sepulchre. Honestly, Sepulchre's a good design. Like, the idea of, like, kid buried alive fuses with tree. Like, it's the ending of a Stephen King-based movie that I can't say because it's spoilers, but if you know, you know. Johnny Depp's in it. but honestly, like, all the monster designs in Homecoming, like, the monster designs are kind of whatever, and, like, some of them are kind of shit, especially when they're just blatantly ripping off Silent Hill 2, but the boss designs are, like, really strong in that game, actually. Like, Scarlet's awesome. Asphyxia, awesome. Oh god, what's the name? Amnion, the Spider Mom thing, awesome. I don't think they're good Silent Hill monster designs, but they're fucking sick looking. So let's look. What is this? Barbecue dog? Who the hell would make something like this? Furthermore, who the hell would eat it? There's something in the dog's stomach. Got a cookie. There's nothing else to worry about here, other than who the hell is sick enough to do something like this, that is. Did I mention, I think knowledge, it's public knowledge, but I think it bears repeating. This game was made by the Japanese. Who the hell would eat something like this? Oh, old habits die hard, I guess. Okay, so now that we're here, I'm gonna steal this point from Acer Aesthetics in his Silent Hill 3 commentary about the Silent Hill wiki and why you cannot use it as a source of information. When he said, not him, but what the wiki said is the symbolism of the closer enemy is that the closer represents mall shoppers and their big heavy arms there, like those things right there. That represents bags that shoppers carry around. And the big mouth, the big swirling mouth thing, is because shoppers do nothing but talk and consume. And the dress is because most shoppers are actually women. Bro, so fucking deep. Like, there's more than one reason you can't use Silent Hill wiki. The foreskin thing is the tip of the fucking iceberg. Like, I will give credit where credit is due. I have gone back to the wiki since like Silent Hill got revived last year, and I guess like 2022 now. And they have done their level best, the new moderating staff, to like clean it up. To just the facts, ma'am. No, less bullshit. They're doing their best to clean it up, but you still get remnants of the old days with like comments about this shit. Mall shoppers is the fucking mall shoppers is the symbolism of the really. What a fucking disgrace. Like, I try not to, like, talk too much shit about other people. And, like, obviously, like, this game's, like, open to interpretation, but, like, Jesus. That's, like, satire normal talk. No, dude, unless they've finally gotten rid of that, go to the Silent Hill wiki, look at the closer article. It should be in, like, the bottom section. These are the same people that would defend Silent Hill 4. They are! That's the best part! We are so freaking back, bros. We are. Ah! Mall shopper! I used cookie. Oh, okay then. But yeah, Music Head Tomboy. If you want to ask the questions, go ahead. I'm ready. Like, if it's a spoiler, like, I can just, like, screen cap it and we'll talk about it later. How many times have you been brutally attacked by a woman with shopping bags? Listen, okay, it's Black Friday. I got a steel pipe. Let's use the steel pipe from now on. You know, it was weird. I was thinking about this the other day. If it was like a human self-defense situation, I'd rather have a knife. But if it's like animals or like monsters like this, I'd rather have the pipe. Even though it's less effective. I don't know why. It's like, just keep it away. Like, I just want to give it like a, just poke them. Oh yeah, that's gonna be an issue going forward. So with the emulation, the big issue I'm noticing is that I'm not holding the attack prompt right now. It's just stuck this way. So I gotta like double tap it to get out of it sometimes. But only like sometimes. So that's gonna screw me over in certain sections of the game. Because of Black Friday sales on time, I never buy anything, but finding people for stuff is just too much fun. Hell yeah. Basically, Mega Bears fan made a theory speculated about that Silent Hill 4's themes were going to be about sexual assault, womanhood, and abortion due to the theme, set design, and Heather's character arcs throughout the game. I obviously won't get into it too much for this game's meaning and symbolism, but I think for the original Silent Hill 3, the pitch that, like, split the team and caused, I forget his name all the time, but Takeyoshi Sato, who caused Takeyoshi Sato to, like, kind of leave Silent Hill 3's production and go do his own thing, which is work in the Nintendo mines, is that. I 100% believe when they said the original pitch was, it was too dark, that this was going to be, like, too dark for the team. I completely believe it was going to be something about, like, blatant sexual assault rather than implicit with Angela, which, even though, to be fair, in playing Silent Hill 2, everything with Angela it's like, if you didn't understand, you didn't read the writing on the fucking, you didn't read the room, literally, at one point, like... But I do think it was going to be far more explicit for the original Silent Hill 3 pitch, and I can definitely see, if that is the case, why most of the team wanted to swerve away from that. Because Silent Hill does tackle dark subject matter. I personally think that would have been too much. I think that would have gone into a too much of a territory where I don't know if I would have necessarily trusted them at that time to do it. I think the way Silent Hill 3 does its themes of womanhood and female-tinged horror is much more subtle, which is, again, it sounds weird coming from me because I've been accusing this game of being as subtle as a rock to the balls, but the way it portrays fears of womanhood, fears of growing up, fears of maturity is far more subtle than what I think that original pitch would have been. And I do believe, I haven't seen Mega Bear Fan's video, but I completely agree with him. That sounds good. Sunless Kevin throwing a brick at Marv's head. But yeah, it's that I feel like that would have been too much. And I'm glad they went the direction they did. And also, like, I hope I didn't spoil too much of this going forward, but growing up, female-tinged fears and womanhood are going to be big ideas in Silent Hill 3. Like, it's not spoilers, but fuck it, let's just get that out of the way. Those are going to be big things in the game. So here's another big thing. It's another cyclic image. Huh. Whole lot of these lately. I also just want to point out how awesome the lighting is again. Look at that shit. This came out in 2003. Incredible. Huh. So you have 3 smaller rotating fans, and 1 bigger one in the room, a 4th bigger one. Where have we seen that before? I don't know. That fan has no symbolism, it's just to improve airflow. SMH my head. I mean, you joke, but that is also part of it. We'll see in a second here. Ah! I'm not going any further. It's creepy and dangerous to boot. There's gotta be a way. I can't, well, stab them one by one. Some insecticide to do the trick. Ha ha ha. Once again, though, like, this is repeating that fan symbolism was all over Silent Hill 1. It was everywhere in that game. And we're seeing a lot of it again in 3. Just want to point out, also, speaking of Silent Hill 1 symbolism, and 2 for that matter, moths. So what is preventing her progression here? It's a swarm of butterflies and or moths. This was extremely common in Silent Hill 1 and 2, and if we remember, in those games, it represented rebirth, reincarnation, and the beginning of a new life. When paired with the fan rotating symbolism, I just want you to keep these ideas in mind. Cycles, rotations, and creatures symbolizing rebirth and renewal. Well, let's fuck their rebirth, why don't we? I guarantee for a remake they push having ray tracing over subtle lighting hues. I hope they got that 2 remake bombs. I think it's going to do well, but they're never going to do a Silent Hill 3 remake. They're never going to do one. The only reason they're doing 2 remake is because Silent Hill 2 is the poster child of the entire franchise. If you're interested, Doomed, I can link you the video to his video if you have Discord. I actually do have Discord. 1 second here. Let me... sorry, Omi. I gotta go. Peace out, Dave. No worry, man. But I actually do have Discord. 1 second here. Let me take off my friends block. Because... I had issues with random people adding me and being weird. Do. Okay, there we go. I will type my Discord username, since I can now accept friends, for the rest of the stream at least. Do. There we go. I will do it just for the stream, and I will answer once we get back, because obviously, we have business. Let's make it live so I know that everything's working again. Huzzah! Sorry for this little incursion. This will be cut in post when we make these watchable videos. Let's kill these fucking bugs. Oh, there's a vent. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot the most important bit of symbolism. If the game wasn't about abortion... I didn't say the game wasn't. I'm just saying I think it's subtle. Speaking of good lighting, look at this shit. We turned it off. I just says, like, I think this game's how it handles its themes, even though a lot of it is very on the nose, it's more subtle than what I think that original Silent Hill 3 pitch would have been. Thank you, Doom. No worries, Tomboy. One moment here. Combine, Hughes. This is great. I fucking love that. It's fun. I'm a scientist. The 2 best friends. If you ever see 2 best friends, Matt's reaction's fucking hilarious. Bam! Lights on, lights going. God, that's so cool. And now we're allowed in. So, I want to say one thing that is kind of interesting about this. Just to kind of keep in mind for what I think is part of my overall final thoughts take on the game. So, there is a larger cycle and 3 smaller cycles. The larger cycle controls all of them. Heather has to stop the cycle and kill a symbol of rebirth, the moth, to progress. But the only way to progress after that is to restart the cycle. Restart the cyclic movement. Huh. All 3 too. Interesting. Alright, let's just keep that in mind going forward. That's something we'll discuss in end of part 2, all of part 3. Thank you, man. No worries. If the friend request went through... If it went through, you can also, like, post your Discord here, and I will try to add it when I remember how to accept friend requests. If it didn't work, then that's my bad. You can post here to, like, screen cap it, and we can just, like, do that. But let's go forward. Bleach and ammonia should work. Oh god, my eyes! I don't know why that whole animation just cracks me up so bad. Up. Bye. Right, my bad, dude. Yeah, no worries. Like, as long as, like, I didn't screw it up, because, like, I have forgotten how to accept friends on Discord, because I have not felt the need to. But I like hanging out with cool people. Alright, let's check this out. So, in here, we see what my bedroom looks like. This is what we call Doom's Sexnasium. Let's save the game. This pattern looks like it could have been drawn in blood. I bet it's some sort of cursed symbol. No wonder my head hurts and I feel so awful when I look at it. So here's where we're going to get to be a little immature, but it actually leads somewhere. So what we have is obviously a human symbol, a human silhouette, probably of like blood on a torture rack. Guys will see this refurnishings and think, hell yes. Hell yes. There's a sort of vice here. And we've got a vice. And we have a walnut. Examine it. Something's rattling around inside, but I can't open it with my bare hands. Well, so we have a vice. We take a nut, and we crack it open, and we get a pale white stone. No nut in the walnut shell, just a jewel. We got the moonstone. It's just a type of jewel, not really from the moon. It was inside the walnut somehow. So we got a pale white stone. Nut! Hey! What you doing? I'm playing nut! PSP. It's a nut. You can play. Outside. Oh god, we're in hell again. We'll talk about those, like, awful sounding enemies later. Oh god, it never ends! We'll talk more about them later, but they're rough. One thing I want to point out, though, is how much more intricate the environment is. These are all layers that are all one section, as we will see later. Front row. Get over here. No problem, dude. Thank you. Yeah, I think I did get your request. Once we're done the stream and I can like go on my phone without having to like double check my stream, I will be able to accept. So, hooray! It worked. Ah! I think it's right here. Yes. Whee! Alright, let's go upstairs. So, this is the reason why I want to clear this area. Because there's a lot to discuss in this room, strangely enough. So, we have a door, puzzle, and a symbol. What is that? That's the save symbol we've been seeing. But not quite. It is the same symbol, but this one's blue instead of red, like a very dark navy blue. We'll talk more about this in part 3. We'll talk about this, but I think this is one of the most blink and you'll miss it details in the game that I really appreciate. It's very interesting. But let's talk about this. Got a crescent moon, a stone hole in front of the moon, and a poem. Let's read it. It's locked. The door has a red crescent and a round dent. I get that. I like meeting other fans of games about that, about games I like, so I like giving them videos I find interesting online about a particular video game. Hell yeah, man. Now, I am something of a Silent Hill head. More of a horror game head in general, because Silent Hill kind of like shat the bed, but you know, what are you gonna do? Something's written here in the same color red. Piling up the 300th day and night from beyond the door, cries of pain are heard. And the final destination has become real, though not a blessed beginning. So, the solution to this is... use the moonstone on the door. So, it is a pale white stone we got from cracking open a nut that we put into a door about how the 300th day and night piles up where cries of pain are heard, and it is not a blessed beginning. Not a blessed beginning. I think I'm just like hammering it in, but I think the obvious symbolism here is this is about a failed pregnancy. 300th day and night, it's like kind of like around the 9-month mark, cries of pain of birth, but it's not a blessed beginning because dies in birth. It's a failed pregnancy. And the fact that the failed pregnancy symbol is in relation to a blue version of the save symbol is interesting, and is a very blink and you miss it detail that we can't talk about until the 3rd day. Can you see why this script was so frustrating for me to write? Anyway. Yeah, nut in the door! Hear me out. Signalis in depth when? Honestly, I was thinking never, but... you know, it won't be to the same level of research and work, but... fuck it, man. Like, I'm actually feeling this again. I'm feeling these kind of streams. Signalis in depth, maybe Halloween. Fuck it. Have fun. So you hear the monsters. Where are they? Where are they? Well, what's really interesting is if we can get a good camera angle. Can't quite see them, but they are down there. And if you get a good angle, you can actually see... there it is. See him walking in now. This room is rendered entirely in real time. All levels of it. Now, it's not that impressive now, but in 2003, for a PlayStation 2 game, for a team like 50, that's fucking wild. Like, Silent Hill 3 was really them firing on all cylinders to show this is what we can achieve. And I really appreciate that about this game. Let's go with the gun. We got decent resources. I still need to play Signalis. It's not for everyone. It's got a lot of like growing pain issues, but Signalis is like the best. It's not the best, but it's my favorite game I've played in years. I have a framed picture of art of it on my wall in my office. I fucking love it. I adore the game so much. It was just like, it was the right breath of fresh air of like, this is the exact kind of bullshit I need right now for a video game. I heard that game was good, I want to play it. Okay. Isekai Tomboy, if you like Silent Hill, you owe it to yourself to play Signalis. It's not exactly the same. Not exactly the same, but it was the breath of fresh air I absolutely needed at the time it came out. I adore that game. This is the split-head worm. Okay, so let's just talk about it right now, because this boss fight's actually really easy and simple, but... just want to let that soundtrack cook for a second, because goddamn, Yamaoka killed it with this game. God, it's so awesome. Yeah, let's not beat around the bush here. This monster's a penis. This is a giant penis. Like, let's not mix our fucking metaphors. Like, it's got a foreskin that you pull back for a big head. It goes in and out of holes. Like, watch this. Like, it goes in and out of holes. Like, that's a fucking penis. That's exactly what the monster is. So, outside of the obvious phallic symbolism here, this is also a callback to the first boss fight in Silent Hill 1, the split-head lizard demon thing. And I just kind of wanna point out right here, notice how often I'm bringing up the callbacks to Silent Hill 1. The amount of times this game has been referencing. It, like, the only things that 2 is really had that this is pulled from have been gags or character models that they're reusing pretty much because of budget restrictions, which we'll get to in day 2 of this. But Silent Hill 1 really is the template that a lot of the symbolism, and, well, not less so symbolism so far, but more so the imagery is pulling from. The Otherworld of Silent Hill 1, monster designs like the split-head work, Silent Hill 1. Symbolism in the case of, like, moths and rotating fans, Silent Hill 1. Like, I really want to plant that seed of how much this game is referencing it. So, I want to also take the time here for the split-head worm, which, again, another thing Ito has nothing to say on, that is Masahiro Ito, the art director of Silent Hill 2, and worked on the art of 3. He had, like, very little to say on the design of this. But that's because he didn't design this. And especially when it comes to the numb body, which, as we went over earlier, Ito said meant literally nothing, but as you can infer in terms of symbolism, probably is really obvious what it means. It just kind of begs the question, why is Ito so dismissive of certain aspects of this game? And the answer is, he didn't do a lot of it. There's a lot of monsters and pieces of art direction that Ito had absolutely nothing to do with, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the things that he didn't touch are the things he says were meaningless. So, just something to think about. But, yeah, do I have anything more to say on this? One moment here, let me turn the page here. We are only on page 8 of 43. Oh god. So, I can understand a little bit, though, with especially the fact that I think everyone can admit that I like Silent Hill 1, but they perfected a lot of elements of Silent Hill as an IP in 2. And I can see why he would dismiss certain elements of the art direction of this game, because Masahiro's art philosophy is that all enemies or monsters in the Silent Hill setting should evoke the human form specifically. Like, you shouldn't have something completely abstract, completely monstrous, and totally out there. And you can tell, the ones that he has designed for this game, you always can tell, because they follow that design principle, where they are entirely organic, humanoid-evoking creatures. So, make of that what you will, but that is Ito and his philosophy, and we're just gonna go shoot a penis to death. Alright. Bam! Like, look at this thing go. That is a dick. No subtlety. No subtlety at all. Not gonna lie, dude, I think this game is definitely about womanhood and growing up. Look how much blood there is. I know, TMI, but like every detail about this is centered around the female MC. What I will say is I 100% agree with you, and we're gonna get to that. We will get specifically into that going forward. There's other aspects I think that this game is about, and there's a reason why I'm touching on a lot of cycles imagery, but I think a lot of the informed character decisions that we will... what informs the two real lead characters here of Heather and Claudia as foils for each other is about ideas relating to womanhood and growing up. And that's really where I feel like the game and its writing is at its strongest. And we'll talk about that. And I hate saying that we're going to talk about it because I guarantee it's going to be in day 2 and 3. It's going to be tomorrow and Saturday. Like, those are the days! Yeah, the boss has gone limp. That boss lasted less than a minute, just like me. Ha ha ha! Oh god, I'm so inadequate. Alright, so let's reload. How many bolts I got? That's alright. That's not too bad. Alright, let's equip the steel pipe for a while, though. I will definitely look into Signalis. Especially with, like, some of the more womanhood-based themes, you really might want to like you would like Signalis. There's a lot going on there. Very good game. The phone doesn't work. Well, we all have our hopes. Wish I could get a hold of Dad. I do like that detail that the more you examine, the more Heather's going to talk about her dad on certain specific things. And it's very interesting how it's like, usually you get like, oh, the father's like kind of a dickhead and piece of shit in a lot of media. But it's very interesting where it's like you get these very nice, wholesome moments where Heather's like genuinely missing her father. I like it. It's very nice. Oh, I should probably explain, because this is an item called beef jerky. So beef jerky is a game mechanic where you can lay it on the ground to like bait an enemy to that point, eat the jerky, and then you can just like shoot the enemy to death. It works like half the time. I appreciate what they were going for. Honestly, it's more of a pain in the ass than it's worth. We're not going to use beef jerky. This is where I was sleeping earlier. Hell, I might still be sleeping here. For all I know. I wish I were. Let's go save the game. Oop, get around the table. There we go. Screw it. I think we can save over that. I think that's fine. Man, I can go for a burger right now.